Okay, so first off, I have made a couple of similar videos. One of them about beauty standards and one of them about the whole "you're not ugly, you're just poor" thing. This time I want to focus on something slightly different, and also this time I'm going to just ramble. Like, this is not going to be some intellectual essay where I quote smart people. It's just going to be me ranting about life, so feel free to click away. Now I have to start this video with another disclaimer, which is a bit funny. I actually deleted TikTok back in 2021, I think, and I have not downloaded it again ever since. So whatever I talk about in this video, it is based solely on Reels and YouTube Shorts and Facebook Shorts or Reels or whatever the hell it's called. So basically just short form content in general, and let's face it, 80% of it is TikTok reposts, so I feel like I'm practically on TikTok even though I'm not. So for the purpose of this video, I said TikTok in the title, but it's actually like short form content, which is definitely less clickable. But I did use TikTok for over a year and I used it most actively. In fact, I would spend around 7 hours daily on TikTok, and that is not a joke. And when I realized that, I was like, yeah, no, I have to delete that app because I'm wasting my life. And I deleted the app and I never came back because I know that for me personally, I cannot control myself with this app. But there was another reason why the app was affecting me. Actually, two reasons, one of which being people were so mean. Like, I don't know if many of you were on TikTok around 2020. I feel like most of us joined around that time. And boy oh boy, was the comment section toxic AF. People would show something nice and the comment section will be like, yeah, not too late to delete that. Should have stayed in drafts. So I was just like, you know what? This is not making me feel great. And also, one of the main reasons that I deleted TikTok was the process of constantly being shown beautiful people. Like, don't get me wrong, I am really comfortable with who I am and how I look. It may have taken me some time, but I am comfortable with like my appearance. But there's just something about this short beauty content that made me want different things about myself, and it was just too weird to catch myself thinking that. Do you know that feeling when you're Eastern European and you're trying to watch a movie but all of the platforms are like, hi, you're Eastern European, you're not gonna get it, half of the stuff is simply not available for you? Well, here comes NordVPN. I have been using it for the last couple of years specifically because of that. Like, nothing is available if you're Polish or just like not a typical Western country, I guess. Using NordVPN can not only help you reach content that you cannot reach because of where you are, but it also has a threat protection feature which protects you from malware. So things like phishing links, password attacks, web trackers. It can also inspect downloaded files for you. It can protect you from intrusive ads. Basically, like all of the bad stuff. It is also the fastest VPN out there, so no worries about slowing you down. And what I like about NordVPN is that you can use it on 6 different devices at once. And I love it because I just have so much crap. It literally just takes one click to turn it on, one click to turn it off. You just open them up, click on the location, and voila, you're American! NordVPN has over 5,500 servers in 60 countries, so there's a lot to choose from. So if you, like me, are tired of not being able to access stuff, or if you need some extra protection while surfing the web, NordVPN is the one for you. And what is that? Today is your lucky day, because if you follow the link nordvpn.com/Karolina, you will get 4 months off on a 2-year plan. So hurry up and go get it, because that's delicious. Let's face it, short form content is the future, whether we like it or not. And I'm not saying that, oh, that's because this is the best thing that social media came up with, and it's the way our brains work, and it's the way our brains are wired, and this is what we consume best, and like this is peak social media content, and we'll never go back from short media content because our attention span lasts 10 seconds. No, I actually think our brains consume what they're served, and we didn't have a problem with text being the only medium for like thousands of years. So I'm pretty sure we still can read. It's just that short form content is like fast food. Easier to get, easier to digest, attractive to our brain. You know, in fact, even a couple of years ago, I was able to read a book without having to check my phone like every 2 pages and then ending up on Instagram for 2 hours. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you can relate. So it's not that short form video is like the best and most natural form of content for our brains. It's just that the people behind the algorithms what the hell was that? The people behind the algorithms, people crafting those apps, they know how our brains work, they know how human attention works, and they build their apps around that. And because they're collecting so much data about us, it's really not that difficult to like adjust the algorithm constantly to get it work more efficiently in drawing people in and making them stay. One of the things that are like a basis of human brain is that we like pretty things. We like surrounding ourselves with pretty objects, we like pretty views, we like pretty animals, we like beauty in general. Even if someone is not necessarily into art, they still consume beauty through other means, such as design surrounding them, or cinematography in the movies that they watch, or beautiful plants and food and nature. And of course, people working on apps such as TikTok or Instagram, they know that. The algorithm knows that. Not to mention, there is also our influence. We interact more with things that we find beautiful. So those things then get more traction, and it's like a snowball effect. Is it called a snowball? Did you know that Snow White in Polish is called snowball? Anyway, you probably already noticed this, but around 90% of influencers, give or take, are conventionally attractive. And if they're not, they either dress really cool or they possess some other skills that result in pretty content, such as taking beautiful pictures or good editing or good cinematography in their videos. So like they can produce cinematic, well-edited video content. Sometimes they get following because they don't fit the beauty standards, but then it's usually because they're like exceptional activists and their content reflects that. Or people doing crafts, they either have to be like top tier exceptional creations or something really quirky. I think it's because the internet is so saturated and there's so many different creators that you have to really stand out for people to be impressed with what you're doing. Even though in real life you might be the best artist in your area, let's say, once you go online, you end up being drowned in a sea of other creators. And then on the other hand, the creators that get the most traction are not necessarily the best ones out there. They're just the ones that manage to gain that huge following, usually because they're doing something unique. And there is also this thing about posting art with your face next to it that always gets you more likes and more engagement than just posting the art. What I'm saying is that there is still this pressure that you have to be extra special to make it online. Let's face it, people in between, people that are regular people, will never get that sort of following until they do one of those things. You don't have to be extra special, however, if you're pretty. In fact, you don't have to do anything. I think that's what bothers me with the short form content nowadays, is that it's so empty. Like there is nothing in it. It doesn't bring anything interesting, it doesn't inspire you in any way. You could literally just be in front of a camera for 9 seconds straight, and if you're conventionally attractive, that's more than enough. And that's something that's really frustrating because it's so boring. When I'm scrolling through reels nowadays, it's 90% just that, just people being pretty and not doing things. And like, I'm not saying it out of spite, I'm not like, there's pretty people and they're pretty clowns and they're so annoying. I'm just like, what's the point, you know? And I don't think it's just my feed, because I never like these reels. Like, I never click the like button, or I never interact with them in any way. Heck, I never even watch them. I just like scroll past, and still there is so much of these just showing up on my feed. It's clearly not just the algorithm that is supposed to show me what I like, because I don't like this. And yet Instagram, for example, still feels the need to like shove the beauty content down my throat, because they know that's something that people interact with the most. The premise of these type of videos is usually a catchy tune, something epic, like something really sexy or something bouncy or something melancholic a bit, and a pretty person. and that is the script. That's literally it. A recent trend had people like standing in front of trains on train stations and looking pretty. Sometimes it's just people's faces moving to a catchy tune. There's no deep caption or anything, it's just a face. There is also like acting challenges, which me being a director, this is really frustrating because I'm like, that's not acting, that's just making movements with your face. It's so crucial that people can actually say the lines and not use someone else's voiceover. It's like so weird. It's usually about like minuscule facial expressions. Like recently there was this trend of like softening your gaze, where you would just sort of go like from a very angry person to like that. See, that's, I'm not an actress, that took me like a second. That's not acting. And those faces with those like facial expressions are of course also pretty. And finally, a TikTok favorite that I think evolved from like the Musical.ly era, which is transitions. I think that's the thing that I despise the most, because it's not only vain, it's also harmful. Like suggesting that you're only valuable and worth attention when you get a makeover or when you put your makeup on is honestly a trope we should have left in the 90s teen comedies. The idea of transitions, in case you're not familiar with that, is first showing up looking completely normal and like not made up, usually a little rough, like you just woke up, and then showing your glowed up version. Here is what I look like, here is what I can look like. It's solely based on like the contrast of how different the same person can look. But again, it's like this ugly to pretty transformation all over again. I mentioned being vain, and I don't know, maybe it's the Catholic in me, but for me that's the one thing that seeps through my phone screen every time. When I watch short form content, it's vanity. It's one thing to be confident and happy with who you are, and it's another to be fully aware that you're attractive and just constantly brag about it. It's just people that are conventionally attractive and know it and are looking for validation. I said what I said. To me, all these transitions are like if someone walked into a room full of people and was like, so I'm hot. Not to mention if you take the music away, it's just kind of awkward. I feel like if you take the music away, it actually shows how empty this content is. You know, it's like the beauty gurus era intros all over again. It's just a nice visual content that you just sort of consume because it's, again, pretty and it's like aesthetic. Apart from clever editing techniques maybe, because a big part of transitions is just like clever cuts. But seeing how fast the trends change, it's also going to age like milk. Mark my words, in a couple of months, if not years, this is gonna be horrible, which is funny seeing people obsessing over these because it's like so temporary. Mommy, I found your old TikToks. Oh. Why are you pretending you're a giant woman? Honey, who is Mr. Armstrong? And did he think you looked pretty? Okay. Why is there a video of you in Paris at a cafe eating a croissant if you're gluten intolerant? Okay, that's enough. In fact, by the time you watch this video, all these references will be probably pretty dusty. But let's go back to vanity. Vanity was often weaponized by misogyny to belittle women, obviously, so if a woman was confident, it was pretty easy to shut her up by calling her vain. In historical context, vanity is very often brought up together with fashion. If you care about fashion, if you want nice clothes, if you follow it too closely, that means you're obsessed with your appearance and thus you're vain. You're done. I think over the years, women sort of reclaimed vanity. Like we were able to say, looking good gives me confidence and confidence gives me energy to do things. Also, I like to look good for myself and not for others. Thank you very much, bye. This is why nowadays, if a woman says, I think I look good today, our initial reaction is, that's great for you. We do our best to praise it because for so long it was a negative thing. You know, it means she's confident, it means she's happy with herself today. It means that despite years of being dragged down by her environment telling her what she should look like, she is feeling good about herself, which is a huge achievement. Men, on the other hand, weren't called vain that often, but when they were, it's because they cared about their appearance a little too much for like the traditional masculine taste. So when we see men online enjoying things like makeup, beauty routines, or some unconventional fashion, we praise that too because it's something fresh and different from the idea of masculinity that we're used to. But somewhere along the line it all went wrong because vanity went from being a powerful stance to somehow becoming a tool. A tool used by social media to make us feel bad about ourselves. So it sort of did a full circle and now it's a weapon again. I think it's also important to remember that social media doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's not like you just watch a couple of videos and then leave and go about your day. It's a massive marketing handle for so many brands and industries. And short content focusing on beauty does an amazing job at sort of like feeding that niche. Even if the creators are not directly promoting a product, the damage is done. Your brain remembers what the pretty faces looked like, and the next time it sees someone with similar features in a makeup ad, who knows, you might be interested. Or you see perfect noses and thin waists so often that you will think twice about that plastic surgery clinic that you pass on your way home. You see model-like bodies every day, so you eventually buy that dieting product that pops up on your feed. A lot of beauty content is quite sneaky because it's not like explicitly about beauty. It's not always like makeup tutorials and transformations. It's not just pretty people being pretty. It's often pretty people doing things, like pretty people showing off their outfits, or pretty people crafting, or pretty people being funny. But beauty is still at the core of it. I'm not saying conventionally attractive people just shouldn't be on social media altogether because they make other people feel bad. In fact, it pisses me off when someone pretty shares that they're not feeling that great about themselves and people in the comments are like, oh, you're fishing for compliments, because they cannot grasp that pretty doesn't automatically mean happy and that pretty people can also have issues with how they look and they can have body dysmorphia and just like not enjoy themselves that much. No, the content I'm talking about is when the creators are fully aware that they're pretty and they are trying to use it to their advantage. If I see someone being genuine, that's a different story. But most of the kind of content is like so carefully curated. It gives off the illusion of being natural, but is actually calculated at being viral. Like candid videos of people crossing the road. They try to give an impression of like a passing moment, as if their friend just looked at them and was like, wow, no, okay, I gotta video that. No. This is too much beauty. Like, she's just crossing the street and she looks this good. I need to video that. I'll send it to my friends so they know how beautiful my friend is. No, that is not how it works. It's usually the friend who is like, can you video me crossing the road for my Instagram reel? Because it was their idea that they just spent 40 minutes implementing because the flaps on the jacket were a bit twisted and their hair looked kind of weird when they did the slow-mo, so they needed to try it again like 15 different times. And like, I've been there, like when I try to document my outfits or my historical costumes, it takes like hundreds of photos because there is always something I don't like about them. So it's like very curated, obviously. But what irks me is like when people try to pretend it's not. Also, I feel like half of the beauty related content is fashion content. And not fashion content as in brands showing off their products or like fashion ads, but rather people showing off their outfits or giving tips on how to style clothes. So it's kind of this camouflage or off. So it's kind of this camouflage of, hey, this is not about beauty, this is about fashion, so it's cool. But realistically, pretty people in cool clothes will receive tons more attention than a regular person in regular clothes. Not to mention something that will be completely ridiculed on a person that is not conventionally attractive is then considered peak fashion on someone who is beautiful. I sometimes feel like pretty privilege is even more visible online, because in real life you can have something about your behavior or your demeanor that people just don't like. But on social media it's like pretty privilege crystallized to the point you just present the physical assets that you have and get instant praise for it. But is it a new thing that we are surrounded by media almost solely focused on looks? Like, yes, the extent of it is unlike ever before, but it's definitely not a new concept. Newspapers and magazines of the 19th and early 20th century were not only obsessed with beauty, they were also masters at making you feel bad for being ugly. I think the pinnacle of this marketing technique was like 30s and 40s, when it was really common for like the beauty product ads to suggest that if you don't use this product, you're gonna die alone. Deodorant ads were like, what if you smell and that's why you're single? Or face powder ads were like, maybe he doesn't want to kiss your face because it's not soft enough, because you don't use our powder. And then toothpaste ads were like, do you really want to reek? Maybe try brushing your teeth properly for once. Sometimes instead of guilt tripping the readers, the magazine ads were often promising the most incredible results. Try this cream and your body will all of a sudden become more round, and your waist will become smaller, and you will grow a pair of 2 perfectly big and round boobs. Some like old school early marketing techniques were not that complex, and they were basically just informing the reader that the product exists. We have a cream for zits, good results, contact us. Beauty-related guidebooks can also be a great example of beauty obsession at the time. I've read some of those from like early 20th, late 19th century. Maybe they're not as aggressive as the ads were, but the amount of tips for like the most tiny things that are supposedly wrong with you, like trying to get rid of freckles, getting round nails, like the most obscure things. For each of those things, there was like 10 things that you have to do to actually get it right, instead of looking like you look right now. But beauty obsession also goes beyond marketing, it goes beyond books. It's deeply ingrained in Western culture. For example, while Victorians didn't use many beauty products because it was considered in bad taste, they had very specific beauty standards for women. And it's so weird, because like I read a lot of 19th century literature, and you could say it's like male gaze, but most of the literature I read is actually female writers, and the specific ways they describe characters is so strange. Like Charlotte Bronte has this custom of describing characters' foreheads. She's like, she had a wide, flat forehead, so she looked kind of stupid. And it's so precise. Waists are always described. The general roundness of a person is always described. So even though they didn't specifically look for these things, once someone actually had it, they were like, this is it. So there were less options in terms of interfering with the appearance that you already have. But similarly to today, you knew exactly what was wrong with you. And people whose looks aligned with the beauty standards also received praise back then as they do now. And you, if you didn't fit the beauty standards, you just made peace with the fact that you're not one of those people. Not to mention the praise was also limited to the class that you belonged to. Like it didn't matter if you're a beautiful peasant, you will never marry up. And I think that's the big difference when it comes to the TikTok beauty obsession, or like short form content beauty obsession in general, is that instead of being at peace with it as people used to be, the TikTok beauty obsession leaves us in like a constant state of unrest. I felt it myself. I was at peace with my looks, and then suddenly I wasn't anymore, and I didn't know what happened. And then each time I went on social media, it was like these tiny needles pinching my brain again. There is one aspect of the short form social media content though that I have to give credit to, and that is diversifying the beauty standards. Because it's a content that we create and then we consume and we interact with, it suddenly turned out that, guess what? A lot of the things that media told us people don't find attractive, people actually do find attractive. Whether it's people of different sizes, or people that maybe don't present in a gender binary way, or disabled people, or people with ethnic features, people wearing traditional garments of their cultures, like all of the things that we used to be told that they're uncool. In terms of acceptance of like our differences, and in terms of like splitting the beauty standards into 1,000 pieces, TikTok and other media actually accidentally did a really good job. And you know, it could have a real influence on other media. We see different characters now in the movies, or models in the campaigns. The problem is that it's still about looks and appearance. It's important, it's valid, but it still doesn't really go beyond just looks. Like, we don't follow that ethnic featured person because we're fascinated by their culture or ethnic background. We follow them because we find those features beautiful. Like, we're starting to see more and more fat models on runways, but they're still conventionally attractive. Whereas fat regular people, it's like we can deal with adjusting our beauty standards, but to make them less relevant in our lives is just unthinkable. And here's where the short form comes in too. I believe these fast impressions of beauty have a much stronger impact than beauty in the bigger doses that we were used to before. What I mean is, if I had to watch a 5-minute video of someone just staring into camera and just showing off how beautiful they are, I would think that's ridiculous. I would also probably gradually realize that the person I'm seeing is not in fact flawless and that it's a person. But when the video is like 5 seconds and is accompanied by some catchy tune, it's like this snippet of beauty that you're graced with, and it leaves a lasting impression on you. I think it's also telling that people say that short form content is the only thing that is able to like grasp people's attention nowadays, but a couple of years ago the beauty industry was built on YouTube makeup tutorials that were each like half-hour long. And in a way I'm thinking it may be kind of like a fashion illustration, as in like an unrealistic, idealized art piece conveying a beautiful fantasy that you'll probably never attain because you're not a drawing. And the difference is, people seeing fashion illustrations kind of were aware that these are drawings. Like, obviously you're not gonna look like a pencil. But also in a fashion illustration days, you would just put the magazine down and go about your day. Whereas nowadays, you check a Facebook event for your friend's birthday, and while you're doing it, you get shown beauty. I mean, don't get me wrong, despite everything I said, I don't believe that beauty TikToks are going to end the world or that they're this massive threat to humankind. We have bigger problems, let's face it. But I think it's also important to acknowledge that at the end of the day, not only is this obsession getting out of hand, but it's also harmful. And it just makes us unhappy. Like, let's face it, obsessing over beauty in such big amounts just makes our lives miserable. And it's true that the way our world is built, it's like easier said than done to not pay attention to appearances or like not care about it too much. Pretty privilege is real and raging in these days, but what I'm saying is, it is also true that we are unwillingly making it worse by perpetuating this obsession more and interacting with it because some smart people in Silicon Valley designed the algorithm that way. So all I'm saying is like, I don't know what I'm saying. What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments below. This is YouTube back in 2014.